Okay, here we are. Here I am
Ah,
for the concluding bit of a story from Kwanzaa for Conrad.
Kwanzaa for Conrad.
Kwanzaa for Conrad.
Okay, hold that for a second. Yes, indeed. Just hold it for a second and let me zoom in on Kwanzaa for Conrad. All right. Thank you very much. All right.
Okay, in the previous work, I tried to explain what it was like for a super duper athlete who became a bona fide schizophrenic to suffer on the streets for 25 years and then began to find himself and write a best-selling novel. Sounds like a story for a novel.
It does.
Conrad takes his friend Bronstein to a meeting where a man named Mr. Philpott is giving a talk. We all know Mr. Philpott. He's one of these African-American men, elders, who have learned how to walk on water and not sink through sand, and he's giving a speech. So, coupled to all of this fake patriotism, which was a result of a whole heap of insensitivity, we get into the age of rage. I just asked, is it insensitivity a byproduct of rage, or is it the other way around? It's like asking which came first, the chicken or the egg. Rage, rage, rage. It's all around us. We got road rage, cross rage in front of me. I'll follow you off the freeway and beat you to death with my time. He amused us by giving demonstrations of what he was talking about. The man was a hell of an actor. I started thinking about a Mr. Philpott series in City Beat. We got academic rage. That's when one professor tried to block the other professor from getting a raise. But I'm sure most of y'all don't know anything about that. I do. A slightly built white guy with pop bottle lens glasses and a backpack about 6 people away said softly. I made a note to talk with him later. Political rage. We get that so often people don't even think twice about it. Don't misguide yourselves. There's no real difference between the two major political parties. It's more about personalities than anything else. A lot of politicians hate other politicians because they've come up with a more clever negative slogan than the one they have. It ain't got nothing to do with us, the needs of the people. It's about how pissed off they are with each other. How pissed off you are with each other. Consider that as I sip my ginger ale. If you just peek a little bit underneath all of the BS they put out, you'll discover that it's not about difference of political philosophies and stuff. It's about how my family is better than your family. Or my stuff is better than your stuff. How we benefit from their personality destructions is purely coincidental. Mr. Philpott seemed to be weeding out the wheat from the chaff. A few people wandered away from the fringes. Did they have appointments to keep? Were they bored? Had it all become a bit much? Petty tyrants is what some of the politicians become. Maybe because we voted them into office. The fringe people were obviously the first to experience the silent approach of the LAPD vehicles. No flashing lights, no sirens, just a simple little pencil movement on the north and the south, leaving exit venues on the east and west, where officers on foot scrutinized, checked Mr. Philpott's disintegrating audience. Mr. Philpott took the situation at a glance before I even noticed the police car that had quietly corralled us. The loud, squawky blare of a police foghorn drowned out Mr. Philpott's words. We want you people to disperse. This is an illegal gathering on private property. You are trespassing. You are trespassing. I repeat, you are trespassing. If you do not disperse immediately, you are subject to arrest. I felt like crying when I saw two big, buff African-American men grab Mr. Philpott, still talking. Where was Emmanuel Conrad? Where did he go? Remember, fascists are those people who actually enjoy telling other people how to live their lives. They held him, these two muscular black men, they held him under their muscular armpits and strolled away with him. I hadn't noticed him before. Mr. Philpott was gone, rescued, prevented from being humiliated. I wasn't. You, step over here. Me? Yes, you. The lights that suddenly lit up a scene that had only received firelight was blinding. I can't see. I felt hands grab, push me toward a police car. Was I being arrested? Okay, take the position and spread them. I took a careful look at the young Mexican woman in the LAPD uniform. A large blonde male partner stood off to the side. Do what? You heard me, she literally growled. Do what? Spread what? I asked her, trying to sound macho. She grabbed my hands, slammed them onto the hood of her police car, well, I could assume it was hers, and grabbed my legs in what would have to be considered an improper manner. Spread them, she insisted. Spread what? What should I spread? She solved the problem by placing her right brogan between my legs and giving each one of my feet a brutal kick, forcing my legs to an unreasonable distance from each other. I felt totally vulnerable. So that's what spread them meant. Her hands went all over my body, into my pockets, heavy hands, intrusive hands. I felt violated. She handed my wallet to her partner. Officer, shut your mouth, turn around and don't speak until I ask you to speak. Now that really rankled. Who in the hell could silence the press? Officer, my name is Michael Bronstein. I'm a reporter for City Beat magazine. Shut up! Off of Mendoza, never will forget it, I can see her little black plastic nameplate in my worst nightmares. I took a careful assessment of the situation and decided not to risk a physical assault by further antagonizing Officer Mendoza. Her partner was already warming up by pounding my wallet into his left palm. Where in the hell was Conrad? Weird scene in the vacant lot lecture place. The police had taken control without the slightest inkling of what had happened there, or what Mr. Philpott had was speaking about. They were simply into group dispersal. They were screening us out. Those of us who had been too slow to check out before they corralled us. Officer Mendoza looked like an angry pit bull. Roll up your sleeves. Roll up my sleeves? What are you, some kind of comedian or something? I said, roll up your sleeves, or do you want me to roll them up for you? I rolled up my sleeves immediately. She and her partner held my arms out and inspected each one with their flashlights. What the hell are they doing? The blonde guy, couldn't see his nameplate, turned my arm over like it was a wet pretzel. Where do you fix? It's harder to hear when you're nervous. I found that out on this particular occasion. I work for City Beat magazine. That's not what I asked you, clown. Where do you shoot your shit? Oh my God, they're accusing me of being a dope fiend. I'll be in the newspapers. My family will die of shame. I felt like crying. I don't shoot anything, officer. Blondies seem to have some sort of fixation on drugs. What's your drug of choice? Crack, crank, weed, coke? I glanced around a lot. There were 6 or 7 police cars and policemen interrogating guys who looked like me. What the hell is going on here? Racial profiling? Did you hear what he asked you? Officer Mendoza snarled at me. Yes, ma'am, I don't do drugs. I don't even smoke cigarettes. Maybe it was the man that softened her up, or maybe it was time for a shift change. I can't say, but suddenly there was a shift of attitude. You got a press card here that says you're a reporter for City Beat magazine. The blonde was carefully studying the contents of my wallet. Yes, I'm a reporter. That's what I've been trying to tell you guys. He handed my wallet back. Officer Mendoza looked like she wanted to slap my face at least. What are you doing down here? There was so much contempt and disgust in her voice. I felt like somebody was saying something extremely sarcastic, but I thought better of it. I'm writing a story. The two fascists exchanged nasty, coded smiles. Blondie handed my wallet back and they hopped back into their squad car and drove off. I stood in place for a couple of minutes, outraged by the way I'd been treated. No apology. Yeah, right. No apology, no reasonable cause, no courteous treatment. I could feel a scathing, red, boiling article bubbling up in my brain. The nerve of these pigs. I walked out of the lot past the few stragglers who were still being harassed by the police. The cops looked at me, but didn't prevent me from leaving the scene. Guess they had already checked out my confrontation with Officer Mendoza and Blondie. Conrad came up behind me like a shadow the minute I walked across the street. He strolled beside me for a few steps before either one of us spoke. Hey man, what happened to you? I looked around, you were gone. Conrad seemed a bit surprised to hear me sound so rude. I was steamed. Well, Mike, let me put it to you this way. You know the words to that old country and western song? You gotta know when to hold and when to fold. It was time to fold. Maybe that's true, but you could have told me it was time to fold. Look, I don't have any kids named Michael Bronstein. You're a grown-ass man. If you don't have enough sense to know when to hold or when to fold, that's your problem. I thought about the logic of his statement as we turned into 5th and San Julian. I had to admit, he had a point I couldn't argue with. Come on, Mike. Let me buy you a cup of Joe. I gotta warn you, it ain't Starbucks quality latte and shit like that, but it's black and strong. He flashed his charming smile, and I was hooked. This dude had charisma. 2 cups of the worst coffee I've ever had in my entire life, in one of the most fascinating atmospheres I've ever been in. Emmanuel Conrad was a celebrity in his community, a strange kind of celebrity, but celebrated nevertheless. People came up to him and shook his hand, or their hands were shaking when they shook his. His standard closed palm handout was $1, a buck. Why such a large amount, Conrad? I asked him, trying to be sarcastic. He ignored my sophomoric sarcasm. I'm trying to spread it around. I'd rather give a lot of people a little than I give a few people a lot. Hey, what the hell are you talking about? You ain't giving nobody shit. We laughed a lot, talking about the police encounter. We were watching you, Bronstein. We were watching you from across the street in the shadows over there. We saw you. I felt a little puffed up. Had I acquitted myself well? Did I punk out? How do you think it went? I mean, do you think I did okay? Conrad clamped a big ham-sized right hand on my left shoulder, looked me straight in the eye, and spoke softly with great emphasis on each word. Bronstein, you did an absolutely fantastic job of ass kissing. Just the way any one of us would have done it. I would have to give you an A+ for the way you handle a situation. It probably saved your ass. I didn't know whether to be pleased or depressed. Had I ass kissed? Well, yes, I guess so. After all, Officer Mendoza wasn't one of those mad dogs you stood up to if you valued your balls. Instinct told me that. The restaurant we were in, if one used that term loosely, was an ancient, smudgy-looking cave of a room that had probably never seen better days. A waitress in bib overalls and a painter's cap walked around splashing coffee into cups that were half empty. Once again, the surreal thing seemed real to me. Uh-oh. Conrad almost moaned in my ear. Here comes Dr. B. I had about 9 seconds to relate to the phenomenon he was describing before she occupied our table and the surrounding area. She pounced on us without superfluous preliminaries. Honestly, I started off knowing who I was and what I had to do in order to do what I had to do. I like to think that I was a strong-willed individual with an insatiable desire to be independent, to do my own thing. Astounding lady, absolutely astounding. She took our table by direct attack. Even Conrad seemed subdued, seated across from her. Her monologue was direct and aimed at each of us. She made me think that I knew her, or that I would benefit from knowing her. Look, I don't want to be known as one of those people who are always giving excessive praise to some ancient ancestor. Don't misunderstand me. I don't think anything is wrong with that. It's just that I like to think that I'm the person responsible for being the person I am, okay? I'm not suggesting that I haven't had help along the way, but I want to make it clear that I did my own thing, my own way. Dig? We nodded submissively. The woman was a tsunami. She wasn't excessively loud. There were several other people talking much louder than she was, but they lacked the force of her intensity, the drive of her flow. So, Emmanuel, how's the book going? She suddenly blindsided him with a question. I was amused to see Mr. Emmanuel Conrad blink in the headlights for a few beats. She was the first person I had heard ask him about his book, the first person I had heard call him Emmanuel. The book is doing pretty well. That's good. I'm glad to hear that. I think it's a good book. Maybe it's an important book. I think it should be read by the masses. She paused and stared into my face as though she were reading a roadmap. I felt compelled to react to the reading with a reading of my own. I didn't know where else to go. About 50 maybe, but once again I had to remind myself that people age fast out here. A small woman with cocoa-colored skin and light gray eyes who looked bigger, taller because of her aggressive attitude. Her light gray eyes had the zealot's bloodshot look. With taking her eyes off of me, she dug down into a pinstripe ditty bag and pulled out a pint bottle of cheap wine, poured the dregs of the coffee cup in front of her onto the floor, and filled it to the brim from her wine bottle. I couldn't help but notice Conrad's eyes wall up to the ceiling and back to the ground level. Uh-oh. She must have swallowed the whole cup of wine before refilling it. So how's your book going, Dr. B? A very coy, almost shy look enveloped her expressive face. But what kind of a reply do you want? The standard? You know it's going well, it's not going well. Whatever, Conrad answered with a shrug of his massive shoulders. He seemed to have recovered somewhat from his former damned, I'm overwhelmed state. And that's where we're going to leave that particular section.
Oh my, okay.
Surprise, surprise.
Yes, I was really into it.
I'm feeding on the attention that I'm getting from this, which is one of the reasons why I'm delaying the final few paragraphs, a few more to go.
All right. Well, I enjoyed that.
We'll see what happens tonight when the texts come in, when the emails come in.
All right.
When the people say, Odie, what do you call yourself doing, man? I was waiting for you to read the end of the book. Da-da-da-da-da. Hold it. I know who I'm talking to. Okay, DJ. Okay, Roger. Okay, Cedric. Okay.
Yes.
Anthony, did I forget you?
Okay.
Eric, family members, those who have not bought the book, may not even hear the end of it when I read the end. But we'll deal with that when we get to it. Once again, I'd like to say something about the Miami Book Fair. As you all know, it will be coming to Miami on November 16th to the 18th. That's from Friday to Sunday. The price for getting into the thing is Friday free. Saturday and Sunday, $10 for those who are 13 to 18, $5 for those over 62, and free for those under 12. This is happening at the Miami-Dade College, Wilson campus, 300 Northeast 2nd Avenue, Miami, Florida. Before we end, I'd like to have Zola Salena, the voice behind the voice, say something about how you could purchase the book that the story is in.
Kwanzaa for Conrad and the Survival Tango can be purchased at Author House or Amazon or Barnes & Noble. You can also purchase it at your local bookstore. If you go in and you say, I want a book by Salena-Hawkins called Kwanzaa for Conrad and the Survival Tango.
Very good, very good.
And your website is www.salena-hawkins.com.
If all else fails, steal a copy from a friend of yours who has a copy.
All right. And till next time.
Later.